also wanted to see the results I can get from doing some small product photography. So here we're looking at a necklace that my wife was working on because she has an eBay business. And just using the 7200 and my studio lights, we just did a few quick shots. We're also using the Tamron 28 to 75 mil lens here because with that lens I can get super close, or as close as I have to, and again I'm getting the sharpness out of that lens too. You can see some of the neat effects and the just nice natural color coming out of here. And with the moon head here, I just added a few star effects to the image also. Then a couple days later, we decided to go into town and do some shots. So here my friend took a couple images of me with the D7200. However, this is not out of the camera. I just wanted to show you. But coming out of the camera, though, it just looked natural. But this was enhanced in Photoshop. I believe I used one of the Nik filters, which increases the saturation and the contrast on here. So it just gave sort of a surreal look to it. And then, of course, coming in a little bit of a closer crop here. So we decided to walk around downtown, and I was using the D7200, and I put on the 18 to 200 millimeter lens for that. Not exactly the sharpest lens in the case, but it's not bad at all. And I really like the fact that when I want to go from 18 millimeter to 200 with just a turn of the wrist, I can do so. And even though it's a nice general purpose lens, it does a great job. And again, it's great for travel because of the size, and the weight of this lens is relatively light also. So here we're just looking at a few photographs that he took of me, and he was using the D7000. And then we were really in a contrast, very, very clear day contrast situation. You can see we're shooting high contrast, and then of course in a shaded area we have many, many stops of difference, and I was really impressed with the high dynamic range that this camera does offer. So that's another benefit of using this camera. Here you can see the kind of day that we had. It was just beautiful blue skies. We started shooting about 2:30 in the afternoon. Very, very harsh lighting, probably some of the harshest lighting that you can get for portrait photography in most cases, unless that's what you're after, but a very, very harsh, very contrasty. And then here you can see I'm in the shade, and then of course the bright sun is right behind us there. So we're just looking around at what to photograph, and I decided to photograph some of there's a neat wall there, some of the graffiti that was on that wall. And this was cropped just a little bit, but here you can see that we're looking at the color coming straight from the camera. And then here you can see on the top part we have the bright sun, and then on the bottom underneath the canopy there we're in pretty deep shade, and then you can see how it still picks up some of the highlights, whether it's in the bright sun or in a shaded area. So this does very well in that high dynamic range. Here's a few more just beautiful natural colors straight from the camera. The only thing, I believe I cropped a few of these just slightly. Beautiful red chairs straight from the camera again. And of course the flower pot. Here you can get a range of all the color tones in that flower pot. Very, very accurate and very, very beautiful. In addition to the beautiful color tones the D7200 produces, other important features are its high dynamic range, sharpness capability, and the amazing, amazing high ISO performance. Now I talked a little bit about sharpness earlier, and I just wanted to show a couple more images that I took a couple days ago. A friend and I just went out to a cigar shop and had a good smoke together. I took along my D7200 and Nikon 70 to 200 millimeter f2.8 lens, and I put the lens on. I was using a monopod, and I set it for ISO 400, and I set the lens to shoot at f3.5. And in this first image, this is the image coming straight from the camera. The only thing I did was reduce the resolution because I'm using the images on the video again. But this is straight from the camera. And then on the next image, I did run it through Portrait Professional and do a little bit of enhancement on here real quick. And then I cleaned up a couple stray hairs. And I also vignetted the sides just a little bit. I thought this would be a nice touch in black and white, so I made this one into a black and white, gave it a little bit more vignetting around the sides. And when you come in on this very, very close, it is just super sharp at 3.5. Another benefit of this camera is the sharpness. And then what about the high ISO performance from this camera? It is amazing. Here we're looking at inside a gift shop that I took my wife to a few days ago, and they had this puppy in there, and it's kind of dark in there actually, but I just wanted to do a few shots. I took my camera in there, and I just had a smaller lens on there. I was using here the Tamron 28-75, and I shot a couple shots of the puppy here. And on the first one, it was zoomed to 75 millimeter. ISO here is 6400. And that is really amazing. 6400, of course, these were handheld. And then on the next one, I took it up to ISO 10,000. And there it is at 10,000. Again, these are both straight from the camera. Color and no level adjustment, straight from the camera. Really amazing. So I took a few more images of a display that they had here. And I wanted to see what the difference was in using the many different ISOs and see if there's a noticeable quality difference on them. So I started off with a setting of ISO 400 on here. Again, I'm using the same lens, Tamron lens. First one is ISO 400. And then right next to it is ISO 800. And there really isn't any noticeable difference at all. Then I bumped it up to ISO 1600. Still amazing quality. Then I took it up to 6400. Still amazing. And then I just figured, what the heck, what if I take this all the way up to 25,600? And there it is at 25,600. That is really amazing. And on this image here, you can see the quality of this image as I just crop in a little bit closer. It's the same image that I showed you earlier, ISO 25,600. Very, very, very acceptable. There is a very, very slight difference between this one and a 400, but this is, who would have thought years ago that an ISO of 25,600 is usable. And ISO 10,000, as a matter of fact, with this camera is very usable. And the rest of them, just amazing. So you can use anything from ISO 100 up to 25,600 if you like, and still get usable results. Just spectacular. So there it is. That's my take on the Nikon D7200. And right now, these are the three cameras that I'm recommending. But please keep in mind, this is my opinion. What you might want to do is go to your local camera dealer and hold the camera in your hand, try it out, do many test shots, and then look at the images and see if this is a camera for you. But right now, those three cameras are the ones that I like. And if you're on a pretty tight budget, right now you can get the Nikon D7000 for a remarkable price. If you're on a tight budget and you're looking for a great camera body, I would consider the D7000, and this may be a good backup or second or third camera body in case you're doing a lot of weddings. So that would be something to consider. Second would be the D7100. Has been a great camera, and they're starting to come down in price now that the D7200 is available. But I told you why I like the D7200. That would be my first choice. Of course, second on down, D7100 and the Nikon D7000. Now, what about Nikon's full frame or the FX sensor cameras? Currently, my favorite would be the Nikon D750. And I think if I were to be going back to doing a whole lot of volume, a whole lot more weddings and portraits, I would definitely consider the D750 currently. But that's not to say that the 7200 is a shabby camera, because what the 7200 can do is provide you the means or the possibility of creating those stunning images, as long as you use your creativity and your ability of what you know in photography mixed in with using some fantastic Nikon lenses. You can come up with some really amazing images. And I want to thank you for watching. I also want to mention that if there's anyone out there looking to learn wedding photography, you could be making some really good part-time and possibly making a good full-time career. I have a course on Udemy it's called a crash course on wedding photography, and there's also one on portraits, bride and groom portraits outdoors. And I also have one that's called the Mastering Small Product Photography, which is good for if you have small products that you're selling on your website or you want to do it on eBay. It doesn't take any more time to do a great photograph than it does a sloppy one. So anyway, thank you very much for watching and wish you all the best.